Welcome to Love Speaks Love. I'm Denise, your host, and my very special new brother guest is Michael Mejia. Welcome to Love Speaks Love.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, just bear with me and apologies for being late, that was entirely my fault. I think I've only not been late on one call, but I don't usually forget the time.
Oh, no problem. I'm sharing it right now.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Um, and thank you to Israel for being the technical backup on Michael's behalf. Right, I'm going to share it too. There. This is where I need a theme tuned thing at the beginning, so this can all be done in the background. Almost there. Right, that's that. So Love Speaks Love is a platform for people to share their stories, their wisdom, ceremony, and today we are going to share some special words from Michael as well. In case you don't know, Michael is an amazing wordsmith. He's recently come into my field, and I'll try and hold it together on the call. I'm just looking if I've got any tissues. I don't think I have. There's just something about the way that Michael speaks, and especially when it's his spoken word, his poetry, that really, really gets in people's hearts. So I really honor you for that, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, and thank you to everyone who's joining us, either on the live or on the replay. I'm going to just start, I'll take my glasses off for this. I'm going to just start with a little heart-to-heart connect. So I invite anybody watching, if you're in a position to do so and you feel to close your eyes and bring your awareness to your heart space in the center of your chest. And if you wish to place one or both hands there, feel free. So breathing in love to our beautiful hearts. And breathing out anything of the day so far, or the day ahead, or the week. Anything that is stopping you from being in this now moment. And as we bring our awareness to our heart space, just feeling all of our hearts connecting. Connecting my heart with Michael's. And with everybody watching us live, or on the replay, or on YouTube. And connecting our hearts now with the heart of Gaia, Mother Earth. And feeling our energies weaving down, deep down into the earth, all the way to the crystalline diamond heart of Gaia. And feeling her beautiful love and her recognition of all of us. And feeling her gratitude. And feeling her beautiful, supporting, nurturing, grounding and anchoring energy, moving into every cell of our bodies. And connecting our hearts now with the heart of the sun. And with the heart heart of Source Creator. So breathing in love again and breathing out love. And I'm just getting a visual of all of our hearts all around the planet connecting together like golden lights, an energy weaving all around the planet, connecting all of us together. And let us just send love to every heart on the planet. And opening your eyes when you're ready. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for that guided meditation. That felt good.
Yeah, it's a nice simple one. And part of my reason for doing that is I just have a dream of us all spending all of our time in our heart space, making our decisions from our heart, working from our heart, living our lives from our heart, speaking from our heart. And I think the more that we do visualizations like that, the easier it is. And also when I first started doing this, I recognized that I would probably be a bit nervous doing it. So I knew that it would actually put me into the zone. And also if guests are nervous as well, it kind of, because when we're nervous, it's like we've dropped out of our heart space as well, and more in our kind of ego and in our solar plexus. So that was also an ulterior motive. So how are you today, Michael? What's been happening in your world?
I'm good. That I needed that. That was grounding. I was messaging with Sister Dahlia a little while ago, so she knew to. Yeah, I've just been clearing a lot, especially the last like 4 days. Just a lot of deep held cellular energy. For me, a lot of my I'm well aware of my dream state.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a good idea of what's clearing. I'll see like people, places, specific experiences. So, sometimes like I didn't dream for a lot of years, probably like maybe like 8, 9 years ago. And I remember that when I didn't dream, you would just wake up like, and there's that old idiom, like waking up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like you wake up and you're angry or you're frustrated or you're excited. And, but I didn't have a reference point because I wasn't seeing my dreams.
Interesting.
But now that I'm seeing them, I understand the exact feeling I wake up with and kind of get to move through it. So yeah, it's been like a carb week, like a lot of comfort foods, anchoring foods, so
Chocolate?
it was like, you know how that works.
Chocolate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I had chocolate yesterday.
I'm a big fan of chocolate.
Yeah.
And recently, a good friend of mine locally, he has all the ingredients to make chocolate. So we've been making our own, which is, it just takes it to a whole other level. So much nicer.
Yeah. Yeah. When that comes in. I don't know if are you familiar with Lisa Transcendence?
Yeah.
She was someone I like that came into my field, like, actually through brother Todd. I don't know how many years back, but it was really just the synchronicity was always right on. Like I'd literally be going with Israel to Sprouts or the grocery store, and I'd be like, I need potato chips and a chocolate bar. And then I'd get back, and then later on I would see Lisa Transcendence would post, and she'd be like, today the body needs something salty like potato chips and maybe some sort of chocolate. And I would show Israel, I'm like, look, I'm not crazy. Like, I know what my body's feeling. And he would kind of just laugh at me. So yeah, I've gotten to a place where when I go through those deeper portals, like just trying to honor it without judgment, sleep a lot, feel a lot, cry a lot, and eat a lot. That seems to be my pattern. And then when I kind of move out of it, it lifts, and then I'm crazy craving salads, juices,
Yeah.
smoothies, acai bowls. But so I'm waiting. Hopefully that's in like a week or two.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because we kind of assume that once we get to a certain point, it's all going to be organic, plant-based, really, really pure.
Right.
But I'm totally with you that there are times when well, I think all the time we just have to listen to our body and just see what it needs, what it's asking
Yes.
for, and not give ourselves a hard time if we're. I feel that the hard time that we give ourselves, the energy that's surrounding the food. So if we're eating it going, this is really bad for me, then our body's
Right.
going to respond to that. If we're eating it going, this is absolutely divine right now, then our body is going to respond to that as well, no matter what it is. I feel
Right.
the energy around it is actually way more important than what the food is.
Yes. Oh yeah. I agree with that. I was strict plant-based vegan for 6 years. And it's interesting because mentally and emotionally, I didn't realize this then, but I was a lot more body identified
Yeah,
and a lot more mentally restricted by my relationship with food and image.
yeah,
And now I haven't been plant-based for probably like a year. And it's exactly what you said. It's been a spiral for me, like where it's not linear.
yeah.
It's I'll literally just salad juices 6 days in a row, and then it's like I need a quesadilla and a milkshake. So it's like I've kind of just learned how to go with it. And I also feel deep inside that, as the body crystallizes, that
Mm,
we'll move into a new state of relationship with the body.
yeah.
But as is everything within the old paradigm, everything serves and everything was created to hold us in a denser state of being.
Hmm.
And so I understand that when I'm moving through the purge state, right, or the victim state of consciousness, that when everything's being extracted, resurfacing, right, I need grounding and I need like a lot of heavy food. And then as soon as like I feel like I level up or my vibration shifts, then just it's not even conceptual. I just move into a lighter, state of nurturement. And so that's kind of just been my experience. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't feel as much judgment around it.
Mm. And guilt as well, if we're eating meat, like holding on to that guilt as well, because I was vegetarian for 15 years, I think it was. And as I was starting to feel, I wouldn't even lick stamps, like I wasn't vegan, but
Mm,
I knew that stamps had, gelatine in them. I didn't have gelatine either.
right.
So I didn't lick envelopes, I didn't lick stamps. Um, and what came through in a reading that a friend was doing for me, and she didn't actually know that I was like she became more of a friend after this, but at the time she didn't know that I was vegetarian or that I was thinking of bringing fish in at the time. And she got a download to say to me that it was all right to eat, that it was okay to eat meat. It was like a message from the angels. And I think I'd really depleted my body because my diet was by no means balanced at that
Right.
time.
Yes.
And it was in 1988 that I gave up, that I stopped having meat. And back then it was way harder. There wasn't as much choice of what to eat. Um, so I don't eat meat very often. It's more plant based than anything, but sometimes, yeah, my body is asking for certain things. And I felt that I had quite a strong martyr within me as well. And I was actually putting myself last. in that.
Mm.
I was kind of putting the animals first before my own health. So now it's more, not always, like I was thinking this the other day, that I tend to live my life from my heart, but sometimes food wise, I'm like, I'm not sure always that I am making very conscious choices. I think there's a bit of other stuff that creeps in there as well.
Right.
But I don't give myself a hard time over it because I think that's way worse.
Yeah. I think the body's fascinating, and I'm starting to understand my own body better now than I ever have. And I've suffered a couple of brain injuries, and the last time I was hospitalized was 2.5 years ago, and um, the somehow just you know as consequence from the brain injury, the acid in my stomach reversed and it started moving upwards, so
Yeah,
it was attacking my esophagus.
yeah,
It was like burning it.
yeah.
And it got to a point where because the acid was going up, like first I couldn't eat like warm foods, dense foods, like, and so it went to like acai bowls, smoothies, and then I couldn't even keep down water. Right when I drink it, it would come up because the esophagus was just so swollen.
Yeah.
And so they had to put me in the hospital for 4 days. And as soon as they got it semi under control and I was released, I told my mom, like, I think just like potatoes sounds good. And then I ended up Googling potatoes like months later. And so I was eating potatoes. That's all I was eating,
Hmm.
like for like a few weeks while my acid was, going back, reversing back down. And then I read that like potatoes are good for like, acid reflux. Like it kind of absorbs the acid. So it's like when we stop conceptualizing, right? And just even something that I continue to come back to is like judgment, right? It carries a vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
And even if we think we have the purest of intentions, that frequency literally blinds the more expanded content of what we're really experiencing. So it's like the moment we like let go and just listen, like, what is this, right? So I've kind of had those experiences with my body a few times where when I just listened to my body, it knew how to cross the threshold it was experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah, I muscle test my body sometimes, and especially in a restaurant or something, and I'm not sure what to eat. I'll muscle test my body and like, what do you want? Okay, oh, really? Okay, we'll have that then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had quite a bit of heartburn as well and reflux over the last couple of years. And one thing that I learned to do was, and this was kind of a message from these dear friends, that was like a dragon breath. It was breathing up from my stomach and
Mm,
bringing the energy through my heart and then releasing like a hiss or, some kind of sound, some breath, like
right.
a fire breath. That's how it felt. And that used to give me almost instantaneous relief. Um,
Yeah.
Once it blew me away once I discovered that, because there were some nights when only a couple, but I'd have to get up out of bed because I was so uncomfortable lying down. Um, but that really helped. And there's a lot of fennel is really good. I used to chew fennel
Hmm.
as well, and certain foods I think like bananas and apples
Oh yeah.
are good for reflux as well. So tell me more about, so your brain injuries that you had, were they linked to your awakening or were you already on your ascension awakening journey?
Right. Yeah. That's a really good question. Uh, a, y- a year before the brain injury, um, I was, kind of in a 9 to 5, going to college, and I just was. really, there was just a lot of discontent. Like I just felt just a disequilibrium. I felt disoriented in reality. And there was a deep longing that just never got satisfied. It was like, okay, like um, I've done this. I went back to college. I played college volleyball. Like I was kind of like checking off the list of all the things that I thought were going to bring me happiness or wholeness, and it just wasn't happening. And so that energy was there, right? So I think that there was like something stirring.
Yeah.
But there's a quote out there, something like everything you're going through is preparing you for everything you asked for.
Hmm.
And so I remember before I would go to sleep, I would just try to exhaust myself every day, right? Like to deal with that like undercurrent of anxiety or affliction or deep seated pain. And so I would just like work out really hard. Like I would run like 5, 10, 15 miles. And even my brother or like my dad would say things like, what are you running from? Like, why, like,
Wow.
like, how are you running so hard? Like every day you don't take breaks. And so when I had the head injury a year ago, or a year after that, which was 2013. Um, it was sports related. I got hurt. I got hit in the temple, and then 6 months after that, a car ran a red light, and I wasn't completely healed from the first injury, so both of them started interacting with one another,
Wow.
and the second one almost, you know, took my life. I was having major vestibular issues, and I suffered from uh, what is it? Vertigo, severe vertigo, for almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was absolute hell. Like my brother stopped working so that him and my mom could tag team, and so one of them would be in bed with me half the day and then the other one would be in bed with me the other half, and I'd
Wow.
basically just cry. And my room was blacked out, like the I had blackout curtains
Hmm.
because my sensory perception was quite sensitive.
Yeah.
So I couldn't, like, any, like right when the light would hit my eyes, it would just trigger a multitude of symptoms. So I was basically in a dark room for like almost 2 years. Like obviously I'd go to doctor's appointments and
Hmm.
here and there, but even like they blacked out our living room for me for a long time. And so it took me a while to put two and two together, like, oh, like I was asking for a deeper dimensional experience,
Hmm.
but I didn't know that that's what was going to happen. But it makes more sense now.
And to be hitting the temple as well, like there's
Yeah.
surely some significance in that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah, playing sports, and I didn't black out, but my vision blurred for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that ended up, and I started writing when I was really young, but then I got writer's block for almost a decade.
Yeah.
And when I had the brain injury, the writer's block lifted. So all the writing started coming back in. And then I started experiencing transrational and transcendental experiences. And at first, I thought I was going completely crazy. And I think I was kind of more of a rational, like minded human, or at least that's how I thought of myself.
Hmm.
I felt like more agnostic. Like I knew there was like, uh, you know, a divine source, but I had already prematurely concluded that we couldn't understand or fathom that source until transition.
Hmm.
So once I had the head injury and everything started happening, I just constantly was referencing brain injury symptoms. So one time I went to my neurologist and I told him, like, now I'm seeing colors around people. And he was like, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never heard of that.
Wow.
And so then one of my other friends was like, you're seeing auras, like you're seeing energy fields. And so that's kind of led me down the path of, moving into an understanding from, different perspective. And that's kind of what led me into Lisa and Todd and Eckhart Tolle and just Mark Nepo, Adyashanti, a bunch of different spiritual teachers that really resonated.
Yeah. And once you started on that journey, I know when I started on mine, and it's different now with the internet, but then it was books. So I'd be just like input, and just, reading and reading and reading, just like I couldn't get enough information in, and I couldn't do enough work on myself either. And I was in a kind of a bit of a hole in some ways at that time. So
Right.
it felt like I needed that to kind of lift me out of the hole. Um, yeah, wow. So do you still see auras?
Yeah, I definitely, my upper faculties are a lot more open now than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Um, I've, I think I'm just crossing this threshold of where I'm feeling really comfortable expressing my experiences, for a long time. And I think all of us go through this, right? It's like a rite of passage. Like,
Yeah.
first, like, we're scared, we don't want to be labeled. I mean, I grew up around a lot of like evangelical theology, and not my mom's family, but like my dad's family, like they're Christian, and
Hmm.
some friends. And that path served me when I was younger, and it was absolutely like the impetus for a good amount of learning. But it evolved into something that expanded, and it wasn't even really, it was more like an act of grace, like, so yeah, everything started opening. And right now there's just deep feeling, like I my sisters and my mom are more like clairvoyant. I would consider myself, even though I have those experiences in a good amount, like I'm more clairsentient,
Hmm.
right? Like I could just feel everything around me. I feel intention. I feel when just this, like I said, like I'm starting to get to that point where I don't really see like Michael or Denise, I feel just the different transmissions of energy that are coming my way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of more where I live and breathe from. So it's like, even like, especially when we're referencing the external world, especially like what's going on throughout the world right now, I like to stay away from like names, storylines, the way the collective through a multitude of perceptions is, kind of projecting their own perception based off of the energy that lives within them,
Hmm.
and more just, what does this feel like? Can we close our eyes and see what this feels like? That's yeah, that's kind of what's opening, and what what I kind of am like in conversation with right now.
I love that. And I would say, do you feel quite claircognizant as well? So you just know stuff?
Oh, absolutely. The poetry.
Yeah.
I tried to explain that the other day, and I didn't. Maybe I didn't do a great job when I was talking to someone, but they had a question about the poetry, and for me, I was just saying like this. It's the paradox of me saying it's not mine, but then it is mine,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I don't feel like it's Michael's, but as Michael moves into a deeper relationship with the essence of himself, the poetry belongs to that, and
Hmm.
that lives in everything, and that is the source, the very source of creation. So it's kind of when we start getting into, um, when eternal knowledge is disseminating. And so yeah, there's definitely just like there's a deep knowing when something comes through, or
Hmm.
when I hear something, right? When someone just says something that really resonates. I actually had a really, really profound experience with someone a few days ago. We connected. She saw the talk on Sology with Todd and Martin. So she had reached out to me and we'd been going back and forth. Her name's Missy. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's quite spectacular. You two would really love
Yeah,
each other
yeah,
and have a
connect.
brilliant conversation.
Yeah, feel
But
free to connect us.
I will, absolutely.
Mm.
But so we talked and we got to have like a little face call, and she just could read my energy. Like I was joking with her because I was sitting on my bed, and as she was reading everything, I was like, "All right, I'm putting this blanket over me because like I feel naked right now." Like, but she just, I mean, from just fine detail of, she's like, while you were talking on Sology, like every time someone would compliment you, you would put, like kind of just push it away and your shoulders would come down. And I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And then like she just was like, yeah, like you need to open, you need to receive. And the very first time I worked with a Reiki master, she didn't know me, didn't know my story, didn't know anything. And the first thing she did when she touched my heart center, she was like, your heart chakra is half open, half closed. And she said, it's open and strong because you've mastered giving. She said, but it's closed because you've shut down receiving.
Wow.
And also what she didn't know was at that time I was still closeted. I hadn't come out yet. And so that was like, and then that's also something she said. She said, you carry the burden of a profound secret that is eating at you. And I don't want to go any further until your soul's ready, she said. But if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. That was the first time she met me. And so I was like, whoa, okay. And yeah, so I just felt like I just had that experience again with Missy, and she was reading my energy. So that's why when you were talking about the poetry, I was trying to lean in and I was breathing, I was taking her advice.
Nice, nice, well received. And I hear you on that. Like a lot of people who are very giving by their nature don't always find it easy to receive, and it's that flow. It's that figure of eight flow. We need to receive as well, or else we do get depleted.
Yes.
So when you feel with your clairsentience, because mine is because I'm primarily claircognizant and clairsentient, I would say, but my other clairs have got a lot stronger over the years. But when I started on this journey, it was more those, which I'm really grateful for, because I feel if I was able to just see, especially with these two eyes, I wouldn't have fine-tuned my other senses. Whereas when it's either claircognizant, so it comes in as a thought, and you're like, well, how do I know that that's not just my thought? Or learning to trust your body, is that sensation in me, or am I feeling that externally? But my sensory organs in my clairsentience tend to be my hands. So that's, when I'm doing work on the body, that's it's like my hands are my eyes. I see with my hands. My hands will give me an image kind of thing. But I also feel things in my body as well, but maybe less than some people who are clairsentient. Some people will get a profound sensation in their solar plexus, which relates to the other person. I think that's where my claircognizance comes in. I'll maybe feel it a little, but not to the extent that some people do. How do you feel it with your clairsentience?
Right. Uh, it's it's just a deep knowing at the center of my being, and it's something that's helped me my whole life. Right. Rumi, he's one of my favorite poets. He says, out there beyond wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. So he's talking about the field of pure consciousness, right? Realigning with the collective heart and the cosmic mind. Um, and I think that as I moved through life and continued to assimilate more pain,
Mm-hmm.
it would kind of like stifle my feeling. but I could still just, feel deep down inside, like, especially like, on Soology, we talked about the last time I was on there with Todd and Martin, we talked about the schismatics and the dichotomy we're experiencing throughout the world, and even in religious and spiritual communities. And for me, a lot of my understanding with the collective experience right now is just feeling, right? Like love is liberating.
Mm-hmm.
Love makes you feel alive. And it's a profound experience. It's unmistakable, and it's irrefutable. And anything outside of that, right? Like if something's making you feel agitated, afflicted, angry, defensive, where something automatically creates a split in your perception, where reality becomes veiled by them and an I, right? That carries a frequency. You can feel, right? Like you can feel the wounded child. You can feel the, like, if you don't like what I'm saying, then we can't be friends, or you can't be on my page, or you're not as, so it's more just like, I find it more just about anchoring where we see right now in this moment, right? Like there are forms on this earth that see far more than I see and feel far deeper. There's forms that are vibrating where I'm vibrating. And then there's forms that don't see as much yet.
Mm-hmm.
And in understanding that beneath all of that, there's one monadic essence. And that essence is controlling the experience of all these forms, right? And once you kind of understand that, you just, I think that you reach a deeper sense of surrender. You start to honor it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Would you like to share some words at this point?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's see what we got here.
Prepare yourself, everybody. There's just something about your voice as well. There's a real beautiful resonance to your voice, to your spoken voice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll give you the choice. What would you like to hear something you haven't heard, or do you want to hear what I just released? Because I'm sure you probably saw the Monarch, but what feels good? I'm with you. Whatever you'd like.
I'm sure there'll be time for more than one, but the monarch is shining to me.
All right, let's do it. I am not concerned with the name of your God. Show me how this God has transformed your heart. Do you meet the spirit of every soul with reverence? Do you embrace all of life with the tender touch of eternity? You say that you will only bow before the Christ. To bow before God is to bow before life. Your tongue seeks blood, and your words have become knives. Your sight, scarred and bisected, and your actions, fed by your wounds and unleashed as animus. Surely, this is not the messenger
of God. Burn your beliefs, for they have contaminated your heart. Let all desire reveal itself as one in a field full of flowers. You yearn to bloom, to be love, but to only feel one's pain is like a bird without wings, so afraid of the dark, so afraid to enter your heart. There is nothing in this world that will lead you back to God except for your pain. And then, like the monarch who meets the tears of those dead, a feeling, your breath will recede and your spirit will glimpse grace. Within the raptured heart and mind, the spirit becomes renewed in sight. You have not reached redemption until everything becomes God in your eyes.
Wow. I feel like when you speak, I feel like everything else is silent, that the whole world just stops everything and just listens. There's such a strong presence in your voice and your words. It's really, really powerful. And you're such a natural to do this. It just yeah. You really embody this.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That that poem was inspired by just feeling the state of separation that we're all going through, all of us to some degree. And I think that I just wrote a quote about this, I think last night or this morning. And I think that for a lot of people who are reaching a deeper state of perception, there's been long held beliefs that have been projected that you're an iconoclast or a heretic, right? Or you're being blasphemous. And I think that if we could just start to understand that as we undertake this, kind of unprecedented transformation, that it's just time for us to see that consciousness is really expanding everywhere. And so that poem kind of wanted to reference it, specifically where it was inspired was somebody on, like, I don't know if it was in conversation or on social media. There was kind of like a specific mental talking point that was just making its rounds throughout the collective. And it was like, you have this, I'm in the United States, and there's this profound racial divide right now that's being worked through. And someone said, like, about just like the Black form, like what's happening to it, what it's experiencing, how it's all trying to work itself out. Like, oh, I wouldn't bow or take a knee. I only bow for Jesus. And immediately, like, it was like a sonic wave just like started hitting me. Mm-hmm. And that's when the poem started coming in.
Wow.
And it was the understanding that when we move back into alignment with the very source that created everything, that reverence is organic. Even for the darker aspects of the reality, right? It's not so much that you like bad things happening or you're championing it, but it's that you understand that there's a vibrational law and a vibrational order. And the only people judging the way that order is playing out in the physical are people that don't understand that order yet. And I've done that a billion times throughout my life, and I still fall into that now. But the deeper we move back into ourselves, the more we understand that the truth is the deeper truth, right? There's layers to truth, but the deeper truth is that um, any act of judgment, whether small or large, is trying to illuminate residue or any separation that's left within your psyche or your heart. Because the moment all judgment has been extracted within the form, it's replaced with compassion. And so the monarch, when it started coming through, I realized the monarch wanted to send out a wave of vibrational frequency that started moving through the psyche and the heart, and just plant a seeding with the potential to kind of move into deeper initiations of experiencing oneself in a deeper way, which then would allow them to experience everything else in a deeper way.
It's so beautifully written. So what do you, aside from putting them on YouTube, do you publish your works as well?
Right. That's in the works right now. Yeah. Israel, who he does all my film work. He's also a brilliant portrait artist. And so he's working on illustrating my poems right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got an amazing feel to it. And just to honor Israel in this as well, like the way that these works are filmed as well, like the whole thing just looks incredible. And you just hold that space. So is it normally in one take, or do you do it does it take a few it just seems so smooth. It seems like it's just done from start to finish.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the recordings itself depend, because when the poems enter, they show me visually how they're supposed to look when they come alive, and audibly they tell me how they're supposed to be recited. So like all of the spacing,
Yeah.
or just like it's I hear it all. So like even like the last line, like, you have not reached redemption until everything becomes God in your eyes, right? Like I can hear the poem telling me exactly where it wants to bring energy and emotion. And so really it's almost like it almost feels like I'm not like, right, I'm not writing them, or Israel's not filming. We just come together, and then he's a visionary. He's amazing. And so I think we just kind of bring what's coming through for both of us, and then see where it goes. The Monarch was filmed pretty effortlessly. Usually like a project like that could take like a couple months. And we filmed and edited that in 5 hours with like 3 breaks and 1 dinner break. So
Wow.
so that one was it just was ready.
And it almost feels new as well, like you're offering this in a new way. And obviously people have been writing and reciting poems forever. But the energy of this feels really new to me. It actually feels quite different and unique.
Yeah. Something I don't think I've spoken about this publicly, but a lot of the poetry comes in when I'm sleeping as well. And it comes in as light codes. And so I know that you are a conduit for some powerful light codes through imagery. And I also know that I believe you do light language, right?
Yeah.
So the poetry is the same in the sense that a lot of times I'll see hieroglyphics or symbols
Oh, wow.
moving out of my third eye. So either like in a dream state, I'll wake up and I'm hearing the words, like literally, like I'm hearing the specific words. And I'll wake up and like I'm seeing colors and I'm seeing symbols, and then I'll write the poem. And so I think that, well, what's happening, excuse me, throughout the world is as we're unlocking, right, the power of the spirit, all of this coded infinite knowledge lives within each of us. And what we call light codes, they're kind of just spread out throughout the world through a multitude of mediums. So it's like light language, imagery, poetry, music, interviews, spoken word. These codes are just being expressed
Yeah.
in the universe wants them expressed in every way possible, right? Because some people might not like poetry, it might not resonate. Some people might not like music but love poetry. Some people love just listening to people talk about their life experience. But whatever it is that resonates with you, these codes are being unlocked within each form because of the paradigm shift. So we're experiencing these codes in different ways all the time, which is pretty exciting.
Wow, that's really interesting that you see symbols. It's almost like, because the way that I see the light language, um, it's like each symbol holds packets of information that it comes through and holds information. So it's like you get all these packets or pockets of information that just go, into your crown, and then you translate them through as words.
Yes.
Have you ever
Yes.
tried to draw the hieroglyphics?
I actually have drawn a good amount of symbols. Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel like I've really captured what I see as far as the imagery. I think or expressed, I should say, rather than captured. I think the poetry expresses the symbols better than what I'm trying to draw or create. But yeah, uh, I had a really powerful dream, probably like a year and a half ago. And I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I was shown the void. And then it was kind of like a speed ramp, like in a movie, like, right? So I was shown the void, and then I was shown like stars burst out of the void.
Wow.
And then planets, right? And then life force, like everything. Well, all of that is life force, but I meant life form.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard it was a female voice. I'm going to say it was a divine feminine. That's what I'm feeling. And all of a sudden, as this energy rippled out, this voice said, before the mother, there was the Ba. Before the father, there was the Ba. Before the son, there was the Ba. And I'm just like, then like I'm in space witnessing creation manifest into, physical materialization. So then I ended up waking up, and then I looked up Ba, like BA, right? And it was traced back to like the antecedent was like, I think like Egyptian philosophy. And the ba is like the aspect of the being or the soul or the spirit that exists before time and space. And so, yeah. And so then right when I woke up, I probably created like 12 symbols after that dream. And then a good amount of poetry came through.
Wow. And what you were saying before, but I just want to speak this in these words as well about it's like every poem is a consciousness. It's
Yes.
it's a thing. It's a consciousness itself. And I always feel that with the light codes, it's like it's real. It's a thing. It's a consciousness. And when I receive a message from the codes, that's how it feels. It's like the code is speaking to me. The code is sharing itself with me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for expressing that, because that's absolutely my experience. That's why, like, I've told people this, and it depends on, the way they're experiencing their reality. But it's more like when people have kind of been triggered by the poetry, they'll be like, no, you mentioned the Christ, but you're not talking about Jesus or this or that. And I'm like, the poem has its own soul. It's expressing itself the way it sees fit, and it's really not even for me. It's I feel like the guardian of the poem, right? Like I just feel past receiving it, honoring the exact vision for the way it wants to be represented and how it wants to be recited. Past that, once I release it into the world, the way it's experienced doesn't have anything to do with me, and it's not really for me to really understand too much. Like the universe and all the multiverses within the physical reality, they're going to have a very specific and divine relationship with the poem, according to how they see and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you like to share another?
Yeah. Let's see. Do you hear everything well? Because they're cutting my grass outside. Is that?
Oh, I'm not hearing that.
Okay, just making sure. Let's see here. Let's see. This one's called The Knife of God. So now I walk bare, naked. Look at my eyes, and you will see what death looks like alive. I take experience as my knife, and between my collarbone, I move down with one last attempt to free my voice. May it sing a song that has never been heard. To free my heart, will they see it? If I put it in my hands, and to feel my pain as I fall to my knees, will they feel it? Will they feel it if they see the blood caused by the hands of everyone who has lived inside of my soul? And will they know it? Will they know that I am them and that this is their story, our story? Will they then come back for me? Will they then love me?
Wow.
Yeah, that poem came from when I entered the specific realization that most of the forms, most humans, most of my relationships weren't centered on people really seeing the essence of me, because they weren't in touch with the essence of themselves. So I was having a collection of relationships with the perception of stored pain, trauma, energy, and thought, at different ratios being projected and transmitted from all the forms I was interacting with. So I was like, whoa, like most people have never actually even experienced me. They're just experiencing their own thoughts and their own pain. And then they're perceiving me, right, through their pain and through their thoughts. And that's what's actually been really, which that's all part of the journey. But that's what's been really like what reinvigorating and just I've been more enchanted lately by this, the experience we're having, and brother Todd and Martin and Marina and Missy and Lori, like all the Sology family that's starting to come, like Dahlia, like, right? Like I'm starting to have experiences where it's the essence in one form is experiencing the essence in the other. And so it's like, almost like, well, when we finally see ourselves, right, we start attracting people that see themselves. And now we get to see each other. And that's just been, that's been really exciting for me. And just, yeah, it's been a new experience. I'm having a new experience with that. And I love it,
Yeah, amazing. Did you say before that there was one that hasn't been aired yet? That was just written?
I have, let's see. Yeah, I have a ton. Yeah. Let's see here. I actually think this one isn't a video. I think I've read this one before, but this one's small, and I really love how it encapsulates the journey of becoming a collection of energy and experiencing the world in that paradigm as a multitude of energies that block the essence, and then experiencing breaking free and feeling the essence reemerge, and then experiencing the reality from a state of totality where you're like, I am this. So that's what this poem is. This is called I Became. I became my mother's dreams, my father's hopes, my uncle's pain, my grandfather's redemption, my grandmother's voice, and my sister's one true friend. I became the bird taken by the summer breeze, suspended over the endless ocean, whose shadow projected over an entire world in the eye of the horizon.
Wow. I've no words. They are so profound, the words that you share. Oh, I just said I've got no words, and then all these words came out. But truly, like, and it's also the energy between the words as well. It's the energy in the spaces between. It's there's so much that comes through. I would love for your work to become mainstream. And I'm sure it will, because it's the right time for it. But they're just incredible awakening transmissions.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like with that poem specifically, it's like that moment we get to honor everything that's ever happened to us. Right? So when I say I became my mother's dreams, well, and I could feel myself getting emotional. It's like my mom is the poetry. My dad is the poetry. Like, you're the poetry, I'm the poetry, we're the poetry. And my mother stayed at home and took care of us, myself and my siblings. And my father worked really hard and got up at 3:30 every morning
Wow.
and sacrificed. And it's like their divine mission and what they created for my sisters and myself, and for all of the extended children that they've taken into our home and into their hearts. And so it was like, my grandmother, she passed away. She transitioned a couple of years ago, and she's just like one of my heroes. And so it was like this understanding of how every single person that's ever touched me, right, was preparing me to open, to blossom. Whether they touched me with their pain, it was a gift. Whether they touched me with their love, whether they touched me with both, all of it was preparing me. It was in preparation for my heart to open so that it could embody the light of the spirit again. And so, and I just love the image, right? Like of a bird flying over an ocean and the shadow taking it throughout the entire world,
Yeah.
right? Like, and that's like the expansion we feel when we start to live from within our spirit and not our pain, which I definitely still go back and forth between those worlds. But when that poem was written, I got to live in my spirit. So that was cool.
And your family, I have to say this as well, and I felt it when you were sharing of how, someone in your family was always by your side and in the bed with you as well. Your family just sound amazing. The energy that emanates from your family unit is incredible, and I want to honor them for
Thank
that.
you. Yes. Yeah. They're really special people. My parents are really unique. Um, like I said, they've raised myself and my two sisters, but then like some, a couple of my cousins have lived with us for years. Um, they've friends, my sisters, I don't even want to call her my sister's best friend, because she's my sister Christy. And my parents have our home. They've always taken people in, and they've loved them and given them what they needed. And I just have, a tremendous amount of respect for my parents. They're just such a beautiful balance of energy. And my mom's my biggest fan. It's like with it's been really exciting to experience the poetry manifesting in the world, because I've been at this for like, I wrote for so many years, and I would just put the poems under the bed. But then about like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I was like, all right, I'm ready to release the poetry into the world. And then it was like, my mom was the only person liking and commenting and watching them. And then my mom would be like, amazing, and share it. And, and she's still like that. And now that more people are experiencing it, I'm happy for her, because she's like, I've been waiting for this poetry to make its way into the world, and just excited and grateful to share. Like, that's really at this point my only desire, like where I feel like in my soul, is that the poetry's come through and it wants to experience the world and people and their hearts. And that's it. That's all I want to do, is just share it.
And I think it inspires. After I'd heard some of your poems, I was like, I wonder if there's anything going to come through me. So I think you inspire others to write as well.
Oh yeah, I love that, because we really, this isn't to be cliche, but we really are the poetry. I mean, to think that this source we call God, or the universe, or existence, energy, science, Jesus, whatever you call it, right? Like, that this source of energy just wants to express itself in the material. And that's the poetry of it. Like, that's being able to experience another human being, and like I said, when our pain reaches the void and becomes cleansed, or at least the closer we get to that, the more we're ready to open our arms to everything. Um, even if it's scary or it's dark, right? Like right now, like if I would have been experiencing the reality of this country or that I'm in, the United States, or the world at large, even a year ago, even a few months ago, I would have been perceiving it from a different place, and I'm witnessing it right now. You know, but to understand that everything is responding to divine order and everything is playing out exactly how it's meant to. And the truth is that there is not one form on earth that can stop this paradigm shift,
Yeah.
because existence itself wants to experience itself back in a remembered state of being.
Yeah.
You know, that's fun, right? And when you feel that, you don't take things as personal, because it's not. You know.
And how beautiful that the great divide that we're in at the moment, this huge separation that we're navigating through, is also the catalyst for such beauty, like these
Yes.
poems as well,
Right.
that help
Thank
to
you.
bring us back together.
Yes.
It's yeah, it's just incredible.
Right.
It's 2020 here. How very appropriate. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you. It's been an honor to spend time with you, and I just want to say that I'm just grateful for everything you do, the conversations you're doing, the energy you're putting out in the world, the work you're doing, the codes, the love. It's been a great experience to connect with you, and I'm looking forward to making more memories and spending more time.
Yeah, same. On or off air, you can reach out
Absolutely.
anytime. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who has watched as well this very special show, either live or on the replay. All of the Love Speaks Loves are on a Facebook page, which is called Love Speaks Love. And my YouTube channel is In a Piece with Denise. What's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, mine's The Poetry of Michael, with no spaces. It doesn't show up with spaces for some reason. And then Facebook and Instagram's The Poetry of Michael. So yeah, journey with me if it feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, and please, if you've enjoyed this, please, I know we always ask, but it really does help if you share it along, and especially to groups. I said this on the last show, but it almost feels like when we share it on our own page, it kind of gets a bit lost somehow as well. So if we're sharing it in groups, it reaches a different kind of group of people. So let's share along Michael's incredible work. Thank you, dear brother.
You too. Love, sending love.
Love, love, love. I'm going to stop the live stream. Thank you, everybody. Love, love.